I had headed north before, but this time I would turn my eye to the south. I wanted to see as much of the sea as I could. Perhaps I would have a tale to tell people when I came home. A tiny crab decided it wanted to try and maul my ship. The crew ate well that night. We found Mutton Island a short while to the south of London. I found a small note recalling a blackmailer on the shore. It was nothing serious. I was probably long dead. Those who try to be clever, without any real guile, don't last long in the Neath. Leaving Mutton Island, I headed to the Cumian Canal. This was the only way to the surface, where the sunlight bathed the land. Though I'd heard tales of it from my father, never been, and I had no interest in going now. It was a long way there, and if I didn't have the fuel or supplies, I'd never make it back. So I passed that up, killed a jellyfish for its food, and then headed down south. Once again, sulfur assaulted my nose. A group of claymen pirates, the unfinished, the unordered, the dangerous, tried to assault me right outside the Iron Republic. I sank them, though I doubt they died. Claymen may sink, but if they're not shattered, they'll come back one way or another. The Iron Republic is full of demons, those yellow-eyed monsters who will do whatever they please, especially if it means getting your soul. One of the dreadnoughts of the Republic tried to run me down, though I managed to escape it and make port. I hired a cannoneer there who looked human enough, and decided to do a little exploring. The men's terror rose as we stayed in that unholy place, but the fuel at least was cheap, and fuel I needed. My trip south had ulterior motives, you see. My father had told me of the great dawn machine, the sun. I headed down to see it. It was an unholy, eldritch machination of whirling lights and sounds. As we grew closer, my sailors began to chant, "The sun! The sun! The sun!" I found that word repeating in my own mind. I would have run right into it if I did not know better. And so I turned back, leaving the dawn machine to whatever fanatical worshippers it had already ensnared. To the north was Grand Geode. Never had I seen such a place. It was like a chasm of stone carved right out of the Neath, the undersea itself. It was full of crystals. I went there and greeted the Commodore, though my memories phased. I only remember a bright burning light, my namesake scarring me, and a sailor deciding that he didn't want to leave, although I heard under his breath, "The sun, the sun, the sun." Before I left, a woman in dark spectacled glasses came up to me. She called herself the Carnelian Exile, gone from Port Carnelian. Her fanged tooth made me wonder, was this a snuffer, or perhaps some sort of demon? Either way, she was a navigator and I had need of one. When you're on the Z, you cannot be too picky. Ironically enough, we headed to Port Carnelian next, far to the east. It was London's only remaining colony. I bought a few sapphires for souvenirs and some coffee as I met with a man of Connaught. Though no longer involved in politics, he gave me good advice while I was there. I passed through the double vortexes to the north and fled the blue prophets. These creatures were like bats, only horrid, terrifying things who would eat your ship alive along with your crew. As we escaped, we made our way to the Isle of Cats. A beautiful place, but home to the Pirate King. This was where piracy and vice ran wild. I clung to what semblance of humanity I had left, as I understood when I saw a man down a vial of red honey. I knew not its taste, but it was supposedly harvested with the memories of the living. As I said, a sailor must be willing to do what is necessary for money. I headed to the abbey where the red honey was harvested. I had no intention of taking any myself, but I made myself known to the abbess. I gave her some of my news, and in return she gave me 5 crates of mushroom wine. At least the crew was happy. To the north there was a great face carved into an island, with a town growing up next to it. This was Visage. I'd heard tales of it, a place where only the masked may walk free. They gave me a mask when I arrived, the oafish frog. I played along with their games, if only to see what it was like there. And then the moon moth, a strange young lady, appeared before me. She had been guiding and watching me to make sure I'd played my role well. She stripped off her mask and offered to trade it with mine, tired of this place of masks and roles. I decided why not. The moon moth was trusted if nothing else. I managed to gather a few trinkets while I was there, under the guise of the moon moth, and was then guided into Visage itself, the face, the great secret behind the mask. A part of me wanted to run, but I stayed for it. Everyone was letting forth their secrets. I had very few to tell, so I listened as best I could, and when the time to go came, I was gifted a silver feather of extreme value. I stripped off the mask of the moon moth and returned to my ship, perhaps changed for the better, perhaps changed for the worst.